Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about letters, memos, and emails. So they come up in everyday written communication situations, and they can be formal or informal based on the audience and purpose. So let us try to have our objective. So at the end of the lesson, you should be able to first is to explain. Okay, I'll just have to move it here. Explain the features of a letter, memo, and email. So it's about to know their quality or their importance. Second is to identify the basic parts of a letter, memo, and email. So knowing the basic parts can help us um, write a good letter, memo, or an email. Third one is to differentiate a letter, yep, so on, from one another. So we will know how they are distinct from one another, when to write a kind of specific letter, or do I have to write a memo, or do we need to have a memo before doing something? So can I email my boss? Okay, so these are the questions. So if we know their differences, if we know they're important, so we know when to write and when not to write them. So fourth is use appropriate format and document design for a letter, memo, or email. So why do we need to have a format or a design, basically? So emails, let's say for example, for emails may be informal, or in personal context, but business communication requires attention to detail. So awareness that your email reflects you and your company, and of course professional tone is needed so that it may be forwarded to any third party. So even though that they are kind of informal, we'll just have to be careful with that. We'll have to keep, or we'll try to be to keep our professionalism. Well, that is also one reason that email often serves as to exchange information within organizations. So let's say like attaching memos and or letters. So although sometimes, again, even if we feel like informal about emails, we have to remember that when it is used for business, it needs to convey, of course, professionalism and respect. Okay, so fifth one is write an effective letter, memo, and email. Okay, so it means effective letter means to achieve the goal of your writing. So, for example, for memos that are often used to inform, but they can also be persuasive, a document. A company or or institution typically has its own in-house style or template that is used for documents such as letters or memos. So it may vary depending on the purpose, depending if the organization that you have to be more effective in informing or disseminating information, okay, within the group, or it can be in the third party member or person. So six is to evaluate a letter, memo, and email. So to evaluate is to judge, even if you're not a book. But yes, if we know more about writing letters and memos and emails, we will know if it's a good written paper or electronically, and we can assess the content of it. So if it's urgent, if what it needs you to do, and other things. So the last objective that we have is to reflect on a learning experience. So, one of the most important things that we can think more of the things that we've learned. Do I need to know more about it? What can I do with my learning? Can I practice writing, or am I already confident to write one? So, yep, that's it for our objective. So, let's have first is the essential of business writing. So, essentials, its importance, its benefits. So, I'm gonna say more about letters first. So letters are brief or short messages sent to recipients that are often outside the organization. Okay, outside the organization. So they are often printed on letterhead paper that represents the business or organization and are generally limited to one or two pages. So one example is, oh, okay, we'll not have examples. First, let's have, oh, here, the essentials. So, yep, So they allow the writer to have time to think about the message he or she wants to convey thoroughly. So that means, yeah, in writing a letter, it is not the same with like talking, like what I'm doing right now. So I do have lots of, I do have some ideas in mind, but it's not the same that I do have like lots of time to think first and express what I do have in mind. But in writing, yes, you still have a lot of of time to think, time to search, time to research and to prepare, or the things that you have to, the words that you need to use for your reader. Okay, before you write a letter or a memo or something. So also, one essentials of business writing is they are more accessible and can be retrieved by the reader at any time convenient to him or her. So yes, this is true. It's not the same with, let's say, video. So it's not everyone can have the access of it easily. Not everyone, some can, but not everyone. Um, Also, if we're going to have like a saved video, it doesn't really what it cannot we cannot, or everyone cannot um what keep it, right? So aside unlike with letters, we can have a copy of it, we can just take a photo of it, and then boom, we do have a copy of it. And we can have an access to it. They present the message in details. Yes, that's true. They can have what is it, charts or tables of information, and of course, they can be documented and filed. So, yeah, if we do have some letters, again, very, very easy, especially nowadays, everyone can just take a photo of it, right? So, as I can remember when we were in school, um, if the teacher is having her class or his class, students can just grab their phones and take a photo of the PPT on the monitor, which is really, I don't know, which is also good because you can um, have the content documented on your phone, and you can easily study the lesson or the course. Okay. All right, so now we'll have the business letter. So for this part, it's an effective business letter elicits the expected response from the okay, hold on, from the reader. Okay, so an effective business letter, we can have, if it's an effective letter, yes, we can have our response immediately. Okay, we can get the reply that we wanted. So this can be achieved through concise, tactful, and accurate writing style. Okay, so let's talk more about that. So a business letter serves several purposes. So they can be here for sales efforts, for complaints. If you've received a bad product from Shopee, or if you wanted to really like write a letter to him or her to to the, what do you call it, like the store, um, for information, of course, to inform, or you can also get information from a letter itself. Dissemination is to what to spread out some information, for relationship building and for problem solving. So one common purpose or kind of letter is the transmittal letters. It's like the same with like your resume. So it's like an external, it has an external audience. You send it with a cover letter that briefly explains the purpose of your document is to apply for a job. What do you have? The details of a person or someone that would like to have a job. So that's one of also example of letters. So, well, let's have, okay. Okay. So these are the different parts of business letter. Okay, we can get everything here. All right. So, okay. So the first one is actually the typical letter has seven main parts, but I guess with this PPT we do have more. So this have four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. So it has 10 parts. Okay. So we're going to talk about them. Of course, the first one. So letterhead. So it identifies the writer, his or her address, and contact numbers. Let me see if I can have. Um, I'm not sure if I can show it to you. Maybe here. Oops. Oops. Uh-huh. Okay, there. So there, you can see at the top, Abacus University, 2005, P. Damaso Street, Maleta, Manila, and the number and the email address. Okay, so that's it. That's the letterhead. Next is the date, of course. It is a place between the letterhead and the inside address. It should never use plain numerals for dates. It is must create confusion. Instead of using like 02/02/19, you can use February 2, 2019, or 2nd of February 2019. So the next one, the third part, is the inside address. So it identifies the reader's name, position, company, and address. It should be placed immediately below the date. So let's take a look at this one. So there, we can see the date is October 16th of October 2016, reference number 35-216. You can also add that if you have. The name of the receiver is Dr. Rita Ramos, Vice President for Academic Affairs. That's the letterhead, the title. Where, of what? Of Abacus University, where? In Malata, Manila. All right, so now that's the inside address. Let's move on to attention line. So it is used when the writer wishes to address the whole company, but wants to bring it to the attention of a particular person in the company. So it's more specific. So it can be written in two formats. So first one is attention, Peter Birkin. I guess this is all in. Okay, so first one here, it can be in all caps, Peter Birkin. Okay, like that. And it can be in caps, lowercase, Peter Birkin, or CLC format. Okay. If you wanted to be more specific to one person in an organization or in a group of people. Okay, so let's have the next part, which is the salutation. So it refers to the writer's greeting to the reader. It can appear in different formats. It can be dear sir, Colin, or dear Mr. Birkin, Colin. All right. So usually for letters, business letters, formal letters, we usually really use colon. Okay, not the comma. All right. So for the body, this part is, of course, it contains the message of the letter. So paragraphs are single spaced um, internally, but double space to separate paragraphs. So within the paragraph itself, you can have a single space, but adding another paragraph, second or third paragraph, that has a double spaced. Okay, that should be double spaced. Sorry. Okay, so if the letter is too short, the body can be double spaced or triple space to separate the paragraphs. So that's the key. All right, now let's have the next slide. Okay, next part of the letter is the complementary clause. So the function of it is an expression to use to end a letter. So below here is the level of formality of the complementary clause. So according to Merriam-Webster's Guide to Business Correspondence, 1996. So highly formal. We can use the following: respectfully yours, respectfully, comma, I'm sorry, very respectfully, comma. Polite and formal, very truly yours, comma, yours ever truly, comma, yours truly. Less formal, sincerely yours, yours cordially yours. Informal and friendly as ever, best regards, kindest regards, and regards. Okay. That's the complementary clause. Now, next part is our signature block. So this includes the signature and the type name of the sender. So the type name can be in all caps, like Peter Birkin, all caps, or the CLC format, which is the capital lowercase format, Peter Birkin. The space for the signature should be 3 to 5 lines. There, can you see that? All right, so next part of our letter is identification initials. So it indicates the typist's initials if the sender is not one who personally typed the document. Oh, okay. So that's it. And the enclosure notion, it indicates the attachments to the letter. It can be written in the following formats: enclosure to, enclosure, or enc, or there. incl dot. Okay. If there's like attachments to the letter. Let's say this is your letter and then you're going to add more documents to it. So that's there. Okay. So, yep, these are the different parts of the letter. So this is a sample business letter, as I've shown you before. So you can see the letterhead, the date, the details of the receiver, um, your salutation, the body. It has three parts. Basically, writing a body, it has your introduction, more details to it, and how you're going to close your body or your message. And then, yep, you got your what do you call it? What do you call it? A complimentary close. Okay, and there. So you can have the initials if you're not the one, or if you're just writing a letter to someone, or from what do you call it? This part. Okay, if the sender is not one who personally, like your secretary or the typist. And of course, CC here below, you can have uh, what do you call this? It means carbon copy to or courtesy copies to other people here, like Karen, Gabby, and department chair. Can you see that? I hope you can. There. That's my cursor. All right, so that's about yeah, example. Oh, here. So we do have three formats of business letters. So this one is a full block. So you can see the letterhead here. Actually, this part can also be here. We can move it to the left. So that's like also a full block, okay? Usually for full block, I guess this example, we have to make sure, if you can remember, when you're writing a letter, you can see somewhere, oh, this is a PPT. Okay, I'll try to open. Okay, this one. I'll make it smaller. Hey, I cannot. Okay, hold on. All right, so here, for example, this is an Memos word. And in writing something, for example, we don't know how the letter, but yep, this one. Can you see the third one? Justify. So this is really important. It's not in the PPT, but most of the time for business letters, full block style, we should have this one, okay? The message, especially the body part of the letter, it should be justified, not like this. All right, remember that. Okay, that's a correction, okay? Okay, so that's a full block. It means it's everything on the left, and here it should be aligned on the right side. Okay, next kind of format is, oh, I forgot. So this is a modified block. So modify block, yep, instead of putting everything on the left, your complementary close can be on the right as well as the signature of the letter. Okay, that's a modified block. I highly suggest to write your body of message again, to be justified this part. So instead of, okay, let's say writing okay, all right, let's try to write something here. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, so let's say this is my letter. Okay, let's try to write. Let's say this is the body. Okay, if it's not justified, let's say it's like this, or I can add more to this. There, fantastic. Okay, so here, let's say, oh, it shouldn't be justified. Okay, so if we're going to make it justified, it will look like this. Okay, I highly suggest you do that. That's for modified block. And of course, the third kind or third format of writing a business letter is a semi-block. So basically, yes, you can have the letterhead at the center. You do have indentions. Unlike with this modified and full block, they do not have indentions on the first part or on the body part of the letter. Okay, here in semi block you can put indentions. That's where you can see it here. So after the the dear Dr. Ramos, I am pleased to inform you that blah 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 blah. So this part it should have like an indentation. That's a semi block. Okay, and you can also write your complimentary clause on the right side. And yeah, for semi block, yeah, you can have your body message or the body of your letter not justified. That's okay. But I still highly suggest. Okay, so that it will look really, really clean. All right, so here are the tips of for writing a letter. All right, so first one is okay, so use a language that is appropriate to the target readers, of course. So in any kind of writing or any kind of way of informing other people, we should or must avoid jargon. So we'll just have to write or choose the choice of words that we're going to have is direct. It's understandable. Okay, so it's like it's easy to disseminate and to inform people. All right, next is arrange your ideas logically, right? Of course, so that you will be understood well. Use a direct and tactful tone. Use the active voice in most of your sentences. So active voice is it's more direct compared to passive voice sentences. For example, of an active voice sentence is let's say okay. Oh, I can actually write a letter here. Oh, this is really good. Okay, let me see. Okay, example of voices, active voice is this. I'm going to write, I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, this is actually an active voice. All right, so sentence is Harry ate 6 shrimp at dinner. It's direct, okay? When we say passive voice, it's kind of, it looks like oh my god. It looks like this. At dinner, 6 shrimps. I'm sorry, 6 shrimp. It's food. Were eaten by Harry. This is an example of an active voice. So when writing a letter, we should keep our sentences like this. Okay, fantastic. So if in active voice, it describes a sentence where the subject performs the action. So it's more direct and they add more impact to your writing. While passive voice, it's acted upon by the verb, so it makes for a murky, roundabout sentence. So you can be more straightforward with active voice. So yeah, better to use active voice sentences. All right, so let's have this one. Where are we? Yo, number 5. Okay. So for number 5, when writing, put yourselves in the shoes of the target reader. So, um, well, of course, reading the letter if you cannot really understand it well. So it's you cannot achieve the goal of your writing. So we'll just have to think. After we write something, we'll try to read it as the receiver of the letter. We'll try to reflect if it's understandable. Do I need to change the word for this? If it's easier to understand, if we're going to use another word. Yeah, like those things. Okay. Next is we have when oh use correct format, punctuation, spelling, and grammar. So the letter should be free of errors. So specify the receiver's name. However, if it's impossible, especially there are some letters like when you're applying for something, sometimes we cannot get the whole detail of the receiver. So if it's impossible to get the name of the receiver, you can use a generic title. Like for example, the human resource director or the title of the person that we would like to send the letter to inform the person. Okay, so that's it. That's all for the letters. And now let's move on to memos. So for memos or memorandum, oh, okay, let's go to the next slide. So here, so a memorandum is a business correspondence which aims to inform and persuade target readers who are within the organization. So, similar to news writing format, it follows an inverted pyramid structure. So, this means that the most important information comes first. All right. I'm sorry. Okay, so we do have the what is it? The pure inverted pyramid here. So the first part is the most important information there, and the next one is the supporting data and examples to your main objective or your main topic or information. And the last part, yep, you can put at the end your least important information. All right. Next. Oh, by the way, the length of a memo can range from a few short sentences to a multi-page report, especially if it includes like figures, tables, appendices. So whatever the length, there is a straightforward organizational principle that you should follow. So you really have to organize the content of your memo so that it answers the following questions for the reader. So especially for memos that are really really long, they're it's really not for everyone in the organization, or it's not for everyone in the workplace. So in the opening of our memo, do I have to read this? That's one of our employees question, or that's one of the people's question or person's question in the organization. Because if it's not for me, then I will not waste my time reading the entire memo if it's not included in that kind of writing, right? So yeah, so for the details, you can put exactly on the first part as the most important information, and there. Okay. So memos are generally very direct and concise. You have to remember that, and there's no need to start with a general introductions like letters, writing a letter, or before getting to your point. So let's go back to writing a letter. Writing a letter, when you put your body in your message, right? You put your introduction first and then the details that you want it to happen, and then you're going to close it. But in memos, it's not. It's more on the topic, that the most information that you're going to post first in your memo, and that it goes down. All right. So that not everyone, as I've said a while ago, not everyone in the organization is really a recipient that should know about the memo. There are some, because there are also different kinds of memos, so it will not waste their time. All right, so next is, hold on, let me check. Oh, okay. So let's move on to the five types of a memo. So first one is instruction memo. So this one provides information that the readers need to perform accurately. Let's say, for example, in a work organization, there are some changes in work rules, let's say from stats that they need to comply. So if there are some changes to it, this is the time that they need to put a memo. So everyone should acknowledge and must acknowledge the changes of the company rule there. So it's a notice directing to the employers to undergo, example, this one is to undergo physical checkup is an example. Yep, the kind of memo. All right, so that's an instruction memo. Next slide is, hold on, 17, 18. Okay, the second type of memo is a request memo. So it asks readers to provide certain information or take certain action. So example of this memo is when requesting fund for a seminar. Yeah, all right, wow, this is a good one. It has some examples. Okay, next is an announcement memo. So this provides information about an event, person, or thing. So example is when announcing a meeting, announcing an event, announcing a Christmas party, announcing whatever. Okay. Next is a transmittal memo, serves as a cover note for a more formal or lengthy document. So an example of this memo is when transmitting an annual report, feasible report to the members of the board of directors. And fifth one is the authorization memo. It gives him permission. For example, this memo is when allowing an employee to study on Saturdays, or allowing an employee to change his or her rest days. Um, yeah, those are examples that I can think of. What else? Authorizing an employee to have to change his or her entire schedule. Like, not instead of working like 8 hours, 5 days a week, maybe just 4 days and 11 hours a week. That can be possible, depends on your company. Well, so these are the advantages of a memo and the disadvantages of a memo. So advantages, it reaches a large number of readers at the same time. True. It is not ideal to convey complex topics since memos are generally used for short texts. Yeah, that's correct. It's more on general topic. All right, it's just announcement, this and that, but it's not really more personal and yep. So next, it provides a written record that can be accessed anytime. So since memos are usually printed, it can be also electronically, but yeah, it's like everyone has a copy of it because a memo, it's like everyone should see it. Everyone should be aware that there's a new memo. All right. The disadvantage is it takes time to reach distant branches and offices. So this is a problem if, um, let's say, a memo is written from a different office or like that. So it's for an employer, a person, and an organization to contact them directly. You know what I mean. So it's not more on a personal thing. If it's really your friend working there, well, that's good for you, lucky for you. You can ask him or her directly. Well, the third one is it allows a detailed and accurate delivery of message. And the disadvantage is it is more expensive than email. Yes, because we are also using a paper and we have to print it. All right, so that's the disadvantage. Oh, okay. So these are the parts of a memo. All right. So letterhead. Okay, we also have the letterhead, the date, the two line indicates the name and the title of the receiver. Okay, attention line. So it is used when the is it parts of the memo? Yeah. Okay. It can be actually. Let's see. Oh no, it looks the same as the letter, but this one is okay. I guess the letter. Yeah, the parts of the memo here is the same is this just the same with the letter, but usually for memos, yep, it also has this maybe like the organization name, the address, okay, and you put memorandum and then you put the date, the to, for whom is for the information, from who write who wrote the letter, the subject, what's the memo for? Okay, call for submission example. So here you can put the details of your memo. So we'll just have to remember in writing a memo or in reading a memo, either of which, yeah, again, memos are generally very direct and concise. So there's no need to start with um, general introductions before getting to your point. So your readers are colleagues within the same organization and are likely familiar with the context in which you are writing. So the opening sentence of the memo's message should make it clear to the reader whether they have to read the entire memo and why. This is the thing that I've mentioned to you before. So if you can see here in the example memo, I don't know if you can see it really well. We'll make it bigger. And we're gonna move here. All right, so there, fantastic. So we can see the Abacus University Research and Innovation Office, NURIN, invites all of you to submit your research-based articles for the summer rights. Okay, so this is the purpose. What do you want them to do? All right, so this two-day workshop aims to um, bring together faculty members who have completed a research paper, example of this, and are interested in publishing their work in a Scopus or ISI indexed journal. It is already produced a quality paper, specifically participants should be able to. Okay, so the next part here, remember that in writing a memo, you can provide all the information needed to adequately inform the readers and fulfill the purpose of the memo. So again, you can start with the general information and then add the more specific facts and make sure there's enough detail to support. So you also have to remember that you can write numbers, bullets to it, okay, for your message to be clear. All right, so who may submit, covered parts of the paper, enclosures if there's attached documents again. like if they are like three enclosed or attached documents. So yep. So these are the different parts of our memo. All right. Oh, this is really big. Okay, so of course here tips for writing a memo. Yeah, I've mentioned about this. You can use bullets, numbers, and letter to list of information. You can use a positive tone, active verbs. This is the same with active sentences. So the subject is doing the action. All right, not the okay. And use heading to improve the readability, of course, and eliminate grammatical and typographical errors. If we can write an error-free letter, that would be the best thing to do. Use correct format and structure. Memos can, yeah, it also you can also write memo style like the example that I have here. Um, but usually, if you do have like a specific format with in your company or organization, yeah, that will do. Where are we? Oh, yeah, we're done here. Okay, yeah, okay, 27. All right, so next is put your initials in a signature from beside your printed name as a sender. Flush the memo heading to the left to line from line, subject line, and date lines. It's the same with our example. I cannot see the example there. Date to from subject line. It's like an announcement, really. Okay. And say thank you or state a directive action, for example, for your compliance, for immediate action, for your approval, or for your information at the end of the memo. Let's see our example. Oh no, I'm lost again. So let's see with our example, does it have anything like that? Ooh, no, not a nothing like that. Okay, but this one we can have or um we can use this. Oh, we can use, yeah, thank you or for your compliance. Okay, there. Fantastic. So that's everything for our memo. All right. So now let's move on to the last topic. It's electronic mail or what we call email. So for electronic mail, we know that email is really familiar to most students and workers. So especially in businesses. It has largely replaced print hard copy letters for external, like outside the company or organization, correspondence, and in many eases. It has taken the place of memos for internal within the company or communication. So remember again, letter write it's a written paper. It's a writing that we can address outside our company or organization. Memos, this is a formal writing that we can have in within the organization or company. All right, but I'm sorry, email, we can have it both. So, one of the study of the United States showed that 98% of employees consider email as extremely important. This is according to Jerson 2009. I can really attest to it, especially now in our country. A lot of people, not aside from what we are facing right now, the pandemic, the COVID-19, but before this, actually, lots of people are already doing a home-based job. So, email. Like chat support, like if you're a virtual assistant, you're already doing this way of communicating to your client, communicating to the customers, and so on. So if your purpose is to let the people know the sales that you have, the discounted items that you've got, it's through email, and we can easily access it in our mobile phone. So it's really easy and it's fast to use this kind of mode of communication. So it is important not only in the workplace but also in personal communication. Email has revolutionized the way people communicate. I don't know if I will feel sad about this, but yeah, this is one of the ways that people can connect, even they are really far from each other physically and literally. All right. So, well, we can also send emails to our friends and relatives locally and abroad. This is one of the good ways. And teachers and classmates, teachers can have their memos from the office of their education to have those information. They can just have retrieve it or receive it through their emails, which is really fast, right? Um, okay, so well, let's move on to the next picture. Okay, so similar to, I guess, letters and memos, email serve many purposes. So it can be used to give directions, to what else do we have here? To transmit documents, all right, and to record important data, add information, to confirm requests, to explain procedures, to make recommendations, to inquire, and to submit feasibility and status reports. So, yeah, to confirm requests, to yeah, yep, there, to explain procedures. All right. So, yep, these are the advantages of email and disadvantages as well. So, first one is it reaches the target reader. All right. Fast, of course. So if you are from, let's say, North Pole and I'm here in Philippines, yeah, I can get your email really, really fast. As long as we have internet connection, we can send it, we can receive it. The disadvantage is it is prone to hacking and technical glitches, especially this usually happens in a company and they do have like the company domain, company emails, so some people can totally hack it and can just retrieve information that they want. Second advantages is to confirm it confirms an acceptance or rejection easily. That's right. If you're applying for something and yeah, if you wanted if your email has reached the receiver or the recipient, they can um, you will know if they accepted you or not. There. So the information is really, really fast. Third one is is less costly than letters and memos. Of course, you'll just have to have your internet. You do have um, your writing skill. But unlike with the letters and memos, you have to print them down. You have to hand it out to the people, to the members. Fourth, it can easily reach the farthest parts of the globe. Yep, that's what I mentioned. It is environmentally friendly. Yes, we don't need to use papers, and it is easier to document. You just have to download it, save it, and keep it in your device, either laptop, computer, phone, or whatever, tablet. Okay, second disadvantage of email, it can cause information to overload. So, yeah, of course, our devices also has a limit. And third is it can be used to transmit computer viruses. So, if you've heard some people who do something like this, yeah, it's one way to transmit the computer virus, and it can destroy, it can break your device, whatever you use. All right. But I guess we do already have like a firewall or antivirus in our devices we can use and we can avoid to happen in our devices. Now, these are the tips for writing an email or memo. So first one is you have to make the subject line informative or descriptive of the memo content. So we're going to avoid vague subject lines such as, let's say your title, your subject is follow up, or your subject is additional information, or your subject is request. So we should and must avoid these. Okay. Second is keep the subject line simple and short. So we just have to be direct. The purpose of our email. Third is do not change the subject line when you are replying to an email. So when you're replying an email, surely the email that you've received has already a title to it. So you just don't have to change the subject line. Just reply directly. Okay? Where are we? Fourth one is the two lines should contain names of the primary readers and make sure secondary readers must be placed on the CC line of the email. So primary readers are those who are directly involved in the message of the email. So if you wanted to also inform or to also to inform the other secondary readers, you can put them on the CC part. Okay. And yeah, number six. Oh, ensure the correctness of the email address of the recipient. So this is the fifth one, fifth tip. Of course, if you couldn't provide the correct email address, the email that you will send will bounce back to your email. It will not be sent. All right. And make the file name of the attached document meaningful. This is the thing. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time. So instead of using, let's say, the attached document that you have, you put the file name as letter one or MS Word one or Word one, final revise or final revision. Instead of putting those file names, you can, depends on the purpose of your writing. So let's say you would like to have a request letter. So you can put the file name as request letter by Tony Cruz or whatever. Okay, a resume of this or feasible report 2019, blah, 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 blah. Okay, those details. All right. Seventh tip, never use all caps in the main text. This is unacceptable. So just a CLC format text. Okay. So now we still have number 8. All right. So state your purpose in the first sentence of the memo, of course, or the email. All right, it's the same. You just have to be direct. If the message is sensitive, do not write the message in the email box itself. You have to compose it first using the word processor. Okay, it means you are going to attach the file like in MS Word format, like in this format, and then you're going to save it and attach it on your email, all right, if the message is sensitive. All right, number 10, avoid emoticons and informal jargons like LOL and BRB in the formal memos. I guess if it's informal, yeah, you can. Let's say you're just emailing your friend or yeah, someone that you are familiar with, that's okay. But for formal emails, we'll just have to avoid that. All right, now all right, so for email writing, and this part is okay. Yeah, we're already done with our topic for this PPT, and we talked about letters, memos, and emails. So thank you so much for listening and watching. Bye.